My name's Hazem Gaber, and we're going to be um, learning more about variables, and specifically, we're going to be learning about arrays. So, an array is a set of variables. So, if I have, let's say I have a thermometer here, and I'm measuring the temperature every minute. I might not, uh, if I have a line, if I'm, let's say I'm measuring the temperature every minute and I want to get the average temperature. So there's something like six, there's like 12,000 minutes in a day or whatever. I don't want to go temperature one, temp two, temp 1200 and make a separate variable for each temperature reading. So instead, what I do is I make one variable which I call temperature, but it's an array, and so it's a one dimensional array, and so we just have a number. So the first reading will be temperature 0, and then 1, and so on until we fill up the array or whatever. And the computer when the computer knows that this is an array, it can apply some logic. So every time we take a temperature, it just it just stores the data in the next field, the next iteration of that array. It won't overwrite the existing one. And we don't have to think about naming it or anything. And then we've got all kinds of tools to work with this array. So it's pretty easy to go back and say, give me, you know, the length of this array, or tell me, what's stored in number 2 or number 8 or whatever. And let's say we've got thermometers all over the city and we want to take measurements. So we can also build a multi-dimensional array. So then we got temperature, and then 0, 0. And we can go on this way forever. And then we got 0, 1, and 2, etc. And we can do the second set, so 1, 0, 1, 2, etc. So I might say that all the zeros are, this is the location of the thermometer, and this is the reading. So then I can say, hey, computer, so for location 0, store the data and temperature 0, and so the computer will know to increment the second digit. And then for location 1, store the data and temperature 1, and so the computer will know to increment the data. So we can create an array two ways. And the first way is, I just said that that we created an array called temperature, and then we put the number, so we can give it a value. So we can also use what's called a key. So a key is a word that corresponds to the value instead of using a number. So if I say temperature, or if I say food, and I want to have a key, I can say fruit, and it's apple. and vegetable is carrot, and meat is chicken. So I can go back to my food array and say, hey, give me the the value that corresponds with the vegetable key, and it'll say carrot. And so this is useful when we have data that's more structured, um, and we want to give each uh, piece of data a larger meaning. So, for example, really where this applies, maybe I have a database of um, computers. So I might say, computer uh, serial, and then cost. So serial is whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4. The cost is $1,000. Make HP. So now I can say, tell me the make of the computer. It'll say HP. And so we can create an array just like that. Boom. And we just call it an array. And now the computer knows it's an array. So we have this tricky thing here. Somebody wrote, and they created an array in PHP. So what they did was the array is called array, and they're telling PHP that it's an array, and they've created a bunch of keys. But they did key 1, 1 in quotes, 1.5, and then true. Remember that true is equal to 1 in programming languages. So, so when you, so the thing is, all of these are equal. So 1 is equal to 1 in quotes, which is equal to 1.5 when you round down. PHP rounds down when you have 1.5. And then true is 1. So what this ends up, you end up here with an array that's just got one value. So if you did, it's called var dump, you're telling the computer basically write what's in array. So we'll write this out. What we're going to end up with is 1 equal to d. Now, even though it's going to overwrite these, so it's going to store this, and then it's going to store a, and then it's going to say, oh, there's a 1 is equal to b, so it's going to overwrite it, and then 1's equal to c, then 1's equal to d. It's not going to give you true equals to d. It's just going to give you 1. So again, we can create an array without a key, which is what they did here. Apologies, this should go like this. So in this case, somebody wrote foo bar hello world. So we've got an array with 4 values. So when this gets dumped, you're just gonna see array 0, 1, 2, 3 equals to foo bar hello world. And then we can create a multi-dimensional array. Again, this dropped here, so So in my case, we've created array equals to foo bar, or I should say, we've created our first array is single dimensions. So we've created an array which is called foo, and its corresponding value is bar, which we've put in quotes because it's a character. And then we've created 24, which is corresponding to, or sorry, 42 corresponds to 24. And then we've created a multi-dimensional array. So multi contains an array which contains its own word dimensional, which contains its own array called array, which contains the word foo. So if we call up foo, we get bar, because the array is going to say, oh, what's in foo? Well, it's bar. And if we call up 42, we get 24. And if we call up multi-dimensional array, it says, well, what's in multi? Well, it's an array. And then what's in this array? Dimensional. So what's in dimensional? It's another array. What's in that array? It's foo. So the answer is foo. Now, we can, every language has its own ideas. I don't know why this formatted the way it did, but we can add values to an array. So if we have an array, in this case, we've called our array ARR, and we're adding to position 5 in the array the number 1, and then to position 12, we're adding the number 2. Now, we can do something else here, and that is we can just create a blank array. And so if I were to create a blank array, I would just write the name of the array, in this case ARR, and that's enough to create a blank array. Now, what they did here was they created this array. Let's say this array already exists because this line of code is here. So somebody created an array, and we've got number 5. Position 5 has 1 in it, and position 12 has 2 in it. And so they've said, hey, add 56 to this array. So the logic, the PHP is going to say, well, what's the next position? Well, it's 13, because somebody's already used 12. Even though positions 0 to 4 are empty, and 6 to 11 are empty, let's just add something to 13. So 13 is 56. Now, then somebody said, well, let's add 42, but let's create a key here. So now we've got a key is worth 42. So we can go back and say, give us 40, give us the value x, and we'll get back 42. We also delete anything. So if we go unset the 5th position from the array, now the array is gonna get rid of this. And if we do unset the array, we can get rid of the whole array. Now, every language has its own uh, grammar, if you will, syntax for dealing with array elements, but they generally all have the same logic. Any questions, please leave a comment.